Giallo, the Terrifier franchise. These two things may not seem to have anything in common, but what if I told you that they did? Welcome to Art the Clown meets Giallo, how the Terrifier franchise subverts and celebrates a classic horror subgenre. First off, this is a very special video essay for the Terrifier Conference 2025 that the University of Warwick is hosting. So a big thank you to them for accepting this topic for my video essay. And thank you to all of my supporters out there. I greatly appreciate you. So let's talk some Terrifier. This franchise has seemingly taken the world by storm. With its intense gore, its really cool practical effects, and Art the Clown, a horror villain that is as intriguing as he is disturbing. The reputation for the Terrifier films is split. Either people really love them for the originality they bring, or they really hate them, saying that they are all style and no substance. Steve Perrin from the A Little Bit of Gaming and Movies website says, as good as the effects are, as bloody as the films get, they're just so dull. They are a gore fest and they don't need to be Shakespeare, but it would still be nice to have something other than the gore to keep me entertained. But here's the thing, the Terrifier franchise is way more than just blood and guts. If you're willing to look a little bit deeper, you will find that these movies are actually deeply connected to one of the most stylish and influential horror subgenres, Giallo. Yes, those Italian thrillers that are known for their stylized violence, enigmatic killers, and surreal storytelling. Director and writer Damien Leone crafted a series that pays homage to the Italian subgenre while reinventing its conventions for a modern audience. We're going to explore how writer-director Leone is paying homage to the Italian subgenre. What exactly is Giallo? Imagine the stylish violence of a crime thriller with a little sprinkling of Italian flavor mixed in. Born in the 1960s and hitting its stride in the 1970s, Giallo gets its name from Il Giallo Mondadori, pulp mystery novels with eye-catching yellow covers. Think of it in a sense as film noir's more colorful and twisted cousin. So when you think Italian horror, Giallo is probably going to immediately come to mind. When most people think of horror, they might probably think slashers. When most people think of Giallo, they think style and pizzazz. Now, pinning down Giallo is tricky because there's not a set in stone definitive list of characteristics, but there are a lot of commonalities among Giallo films and classic elements that are going to pop up again and again. So let's break it down. First off, gore and brutal murders. Giallo often involves intricate up-close killings, often with sharp objects. Next, beautiful female victims. There is a focus on the beauty and sexuality of the women and their ultimate destruction. Speaking of killers, these killers a lot of times like to wear black gloves, and you're experiencing the murders from their first-person point of view. They are mass killers, often with a hidden identity. The killer or killers, depending, are often driven by psychosexual desires and tensions. This is also not a requirement, but giallos tend to have really out there, catchy titles. For instance, The Red Queen Kills 7 Times, The Bird with the Crystal Plumage, Blood and Black Lace. Names that roll right off the tongue, they're catchy, and they draw you in. Giallos also have an emphasis on style and music in the form of bold colors, surreal sets, and really killer soundtracks. third-person point of view of the killer in a way puts the audience in the role of the voyeur. This is another common characteristic of Giallo. It's like we are up close and personal with the killer watching these horrific, brutal acts. The violence in Giallos is often sexualized and often committed against women. The violence was very explicit and often very gruesome. Giallos often tend to also have a strong crime and mystery element, an air of whodunit, trying to solve the murders, trying to find out the identity of the killer, and often it's a person who is an amateur who has put themselves in the role of detective. I mean, the police are there and they're usually talking to the police, but more often than not, the person leading the investigation, so to speak, is more often than not an amateur. And Giallos don't really have any supernatural elements in them. They're grounded in reality with seemingly rational explanations for any supernatural events that occur. Giallo tends to be a very fluid subgenre in horror. It's more defined by mood and style than by a strict set of rules and a strict formula. So how does the Terrifier franchise fit into all of this? Let's start with Art the Clown himself. So Art shares these key traits and characteristics with Giallo killers. He is mysterious, yet he is ever present. Unlike Giallo killers, where you'll maybe just see their gloved hand and you're looking at things from their point of view. Art is fully on screen. We can see him, we can see who he is. What makes him enigmatic and mysterious is the fact that we don't know what he looks like because of his makeup, and we really have no idea what he's thinking. I have to talk about the exaggerated theatrical kills. Kills in Giallo are very artistic, beautiful, and very theatrical and over the top. Think of Art's kills in Terrifier 1, Dawn getting split in half, Terrifier 2, that bedroom scene, and Terrifier 3, the shower scene. Terrifier has a surreal, unsettling vibe with almost fragmented storytelling, similar to Giallo's illogical but immersive approach. So the entire atmosphere of Terrifier is almost steeped in this weird kind of nightmare energy. It doesn't feel grounded in reality. The lighting is very stark and out there, and Art at times is just there. He'll appear without any explanation whatsoever. Art has a bit of an unstoppable vibe, which is similar to some Giallo killers who seem to defy logic in the kinds of things that they do and the kinds of kills that they commit. And he also seems to survive the impossible without any explanation. That's just like watching a bad dream play out. Think of films like Inferno and Suspiria that thrive on this kind of logic. We're not really meant to understand the rules. We're just there to feel them and to feel the atmosphere. Also, Terrifier doesn't really waste time with an over-reliance on backstory, character development, or even traditional pacing. It sometimes just jumps from scene to scene. So 1 minute, this happens, this thing happens, and then another thing, this thing happens. You're like, wait, whoa, what? Where'd that come from? It is reminiscent of Giallo in films like Tenebrae, where stories leap from one sequence to the next, and it prioritizes mood and style, in a sense, over any kind of plot. Also, you're not really questioning how Art survives. How did he survive that gunshot to the head? We don't know. None of it is logical. It's not really grounded in any kind of reality, but that's what makes it so immersive. It pulls you into a different realm of horror, one that is guided by tone and visual disorientation. That's peak Giallo influence. Also, the Terrifier franchise borrows from Giallo's expansion of the surreal. Terrifier 2 leans even harder into the weird, further connected to Giallo. Think of the Clown Cafe dream sequence. It is surreal, it is weird, and none of it makes any sense whatsoever. And the Terrifier franchise also borrows from Giallo's hyper-stylized gore and violence. While Terrifier's gore is extreme, no doubt, it is out there. It shares that elaborate, visually impactful quality with Giallo. Damien Leone isn't just only borrowing from Giallo, and he's not copying Giallo characteristic by characteristic by characteristic. He is taking Giallo and subverting it and blending it with the raw, gritty energy of grindhouse horror. So you get the Giallo aesthetics of stylish set, bold colors, and these awesome costumes alongside graphic violence, eroticism, and psychosexual themes mixed with grindhouse horror and its low-budget feel, extreme violence, and an admittedly campy sensibility about it. The Terrifier franchise is a new breed of slasher merging these styles. You see this blend in terms of the franchise's visual style. Giallo's visual flair is mixed with Grindhouse's low-budget realism, creating a look that is both stylized and very unsettling and real. Its costumes. Giallo has very elaborate and stylized costumes, and the costumes of this franchise, think of the Halloween costumes, think of Sienna's Valkyrie outfit in Terrifier 2, and Art's Santa costume in Terrifier 3. Sometimes they're grounded in realism, as you can find the costumes really at any kind of costume store, and sometimes they're elaborate, as in Sienna's handmade Valkyrie outfit, but they all enhance the aesthetic. Also, you can definitely see the blend in the violence. Terrifier's violence, it echoes the often cruel and somewhat sexualized violence in Giallo, but amped up to 11, kind of at the level and sometimes even beyond a grindhouse film. You can definitely see the blends too in the themes and dialogue. You have these bits of dialogue that have this very dramatic flair, it sometimes can be very over the top.
No, he was different. His smile? The way he kept staring at us with those dead eyes? What was in that bag?
I don't know, Tara. The point is, he's gone, and you're never gonna see him again. So cut the shit, because you're starting to freak me out.
But you mix it with the exploitation and shock value of Art's actions and his expressions, which is pure camp and pure grindhouse. And you definitely also see the blends in the special effects. They are well crafted. They are very stylized, especially in terms of the blood, but they also have a very realistic, gritty feel, much like the special effects that you might see in a grindhouse film. You also definitely see the blends of Giallo and grindhouse in the Terrifier franchise's plots. The plots are a mix of mystery and the fragmented nature around the story and Art's origins, and straightforward, shocking narratives. Now, I want to go back to the use of special effects in the Terrifier franchise because the use of practical effects is key. Giallo films were not afraid to go there with the violence and with the gore, mainly in terms of blood. In Giallo, there's lots of blood, buckets of blood. The Terrifier franchise keeps the spirit of the Giallo alive with those kinds of practical effects. And Giallos were full of nudity, gore, and mayhem, and the Terrifier franchise definitely keeps that spirit alive as well. There's a lot of gore and mayhem in Terrifier 1. There was a hint of nudity in Terrifier 2, the shower scene, and there's definitely a hint of nudity in Terrifier 3, again with the shower scene. The Terrifier franchise was mainly special effects aimed at adding a more disturbing and more realistic level of gore. They actually used meat and various other entrails for whenever they were cutting into people to make it look more realistic. The blood was also pretty realistic at times. The Terrifier franchise paid homage to Giallo strictly on the blood alone. Now, as the Terrifier franchise really is Giallo? Let's address the arguments against it. First up, the lack of mystery. Traditional Giallo films tend to be murder mysteries, and the Terrifier franchise doesn't really have the central whodunit element. Also, the visual differences. Giallos tend to always be stylized as very colorful and vibrant, and people may think that the Terrifier franchise is grittier and more muted in color. But Giallo has evolved. Modern films draw influence but don't always follow the exact blueprint. Stylistic excess still applies. The Terrifier franchise embraces Giallo's over-the-top visuals and theatricality, and horror is always reinventing itself and always stepping up to the line and always crossing those boundaries. On his approach to making the Terrifier movies, Leone stated, "I wanted to take familiar elements that we all embraced from American horror movies, combined with the graphic violence and atmosphere of Giallo films, hopefully creating something fresh and exciting." So while the Terrifier franchise may not be Giallo's in the traditional sense, it definitely uses the key elements and characteristics, puts them all in the blender, blends them, and mixes them together in a fresh and brutal way. Thank you so much for watching this video essay on Art the Clown meets Giallo, how the Terrifier franchise subverts and celebrates a classic horror genre. What I want to ask is, do you think the Terrifier franchise has evolved Giallo for a modern horror audience? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Please like and share this video with fellow Terrifier fans and fellow horror fans. It really does help. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss another Retro Horror School class. Class is dismissed, everybody, for now, but I hope to see you next time. Bye!